Tennessee's Wild Side, broadcast for nearly 2 decades, was originally created through a vision of the Jackson Foundation. The foundation remains a supportive partner in the mission to educate viewers about wildlife, natural resources, and opportunities for outdoor adventure. Wild Side is produced by Rockwater TV with support from Tennessee State Parks, where you can discover our state's diverse heritage through spectacular landscapes, family-friendly recreation, and affordable lodging. Tennessee State Parks, fun and adventure naturally. And with support from the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, promoting wise uses of Tennessee's agricultural and forest resources to develop economic opportunities and to ensure safe and dependable food, fuel, and fiber for all citizens.
Hi friends, welcome to the Wild Side. I'm Steve Hall. I'm standing here in a section of the Natchez Trace State Forest where it looks like a natural disaster has wiped out some of the trees here. But while this may appear to be a devastating scene to the untrained eyes, people who care for this Tennessee treasure believe it's a beautiful place where trees needed some help. It's all part of a forest management plan to preserve healthy trees and protect the future of timber.
In long-lost days of yesteryear, palace lumberjacks labored with crosscut saws and axes to take down trees in a forest.
I don't think I'd be a logger. I'm not that strong, and I don't have that much grit, I'm afraid. I think it's awesome. I watch some videos of that stuff, and it's awesome to see that. But yeah, the logging industry has just completely changed over the years.
It's still not easy, but big machinery has lessened the workload for Gabe Beachy and his extended family line of loggers.
I was born into it. I got 2 uncles that log. My dad logs. My grandpa was in the sawmill industry. It's in our blood. I just love it. It's a lifestyle. It's a hobby too. You know, you can't just log without loving it. There's too much stress and too much work goes into it to just have it for a job is the way I look at it.
Gabe is working today with his Uncle Joe, logging a 25-acre stand in the Natchez Trace State Forest of West Tennessee. They were hired by a sawmill that turned in the highest bid to pay the state for this timber.
It's our job to harvest that tree and bring it to the boom here and put it on a truck and put it to the mill.
It's going to be a clear cut. We asked them to cut down anything that's 4.5 foot tall and smaller. That goes back to we want everything to be on the same equal playing field. We want everything to come up to be the same age.
There are high expectations for the quality of a logger's work in a state forest, not only from the buyer of the timber, but from the people of Tennessee, represented by the Department of Agriculture's Forestry Division.
All of our loggers that come out here to work at Natchez Trace have to have an on-site representative that is a master logger, meaning that they have completed the course that talks about how to cut forests properly, how to maintain erosion control, also how to build roads correctly so that there isn't a whole lot of sediment moving off the forest. It talks about the ethics of being able to do a good job out there and not cheating a landowner, making sure that all the product can be utilized. The Master Logger program shows a lot of the best management practices that are guidelines that the state of Tennessee has set, and we're the ones that make sure that they're actually following them.
And beyond that, state foresters have also set guidelines for themselves. While modern machines make logging faster than the days of axes, cross-cutting, and chainsaws, the modern methods of land management make the planning process slower, especially across the 160,000 plus acres that make up the 15 multiple-use state forests.
We don't just pick a spot. It's very well thought out. We have about 36,000 acres here of just forest. From that, we break it down into 31 different compartments, all about 1,000 acres each. And from that, we actually look at 3 of them every single year. And we go through and we make a plan that is drawn out for 10 years.
The forest is broken down further into stands of no more than 40 acres, based on a variety of factors such as species, size, maturity of the trees, and topography. Each stand is individually inspected by foresters collecting data for computer analysis.
Most of our forests are heavily to the age in the old age class right now, because for so many years we were in the protective stage just trying to grow our forests. And now they're to a point to where we can harvest some of them.
The roots of these trees in the Natchez Trace State Forest and much of the state forest system can be traced back to the Depression.
This whole area didn't have trees on it. It was essentially being farmed.
Unrestrained farming practices of the era had created a wasteland of deeply carved gullies.
There was massive amounts of erosion going on because there was no forest.
All the topsoil had been washed away, and it was virtually useless land. Nobody knew what to do with this land, so the federal government bought this land up and created these areas of conservation.
The Conservation Corps of Engineers began a course of action to restore natural resources.
So what they did was they planted a lot of trees. They planted a lot of pine trees that dropped needles to hold the soil in so it wouldn't erode away as badly. And so those areas of conservation turned into the state forest.
And what a difference planting trees can make. With proper land management, trees in the forest can prevent erosion, with a higher priority of protecting water quality.
If you get rid of all your topsoil, your plants aren't going to be able to thrive. They're not going to be able to grow because they're not going to get the nutrients that they need. We also need to make sure that we aren't putting sediments into our water. That's the water that we drink. We don't need to contaminate it with stuff that our body won't be able to process, won't be able to handle.
And the Natchez Trace State Forest is now filled with a plentiful supply of trees for timber.
And so those have been growing now for the past 60 to 80 years of planted material, and now it's one of our most productive state forests that we have.
If we don't take care of it now, it's going to end up dying and collapsing on itself. And that's a good way for invasive species to take over because they thrive in any kind of gap that the forest creates. If there's an invasive already here, it's going to go for that spot where that tree fell over and died.
Sustainably, we only harvest just over and around 1% of our acreage a year. So that leads us to be we could harvest that much in perpetuity. So by the time we cut, say 80 years from now, the first stuff that we harvested will be ready to cut again.
Much of that is done with clear cutting, which sometimes brings negative reactions when people first see it. But it is considered by foresters to be an efficient way to not only harvest needed timber, but also to restore and retain the natural health and beauty of the forest.
We're essentially mimicking a natural disaster, except for we're doing it in a controlled manner because we're only going to take out so many acres. As you can see, there's a lot of leftover debris. It's a lot of tops from the trees. They can't be utilized. But as you can also see, there's a lot of green coming back up. This is only 3 weeks after we've had this harvest. And in a year or two, you'll have trees about as tall as me, if not a little bit taller.
For these loggers, this is the kind of work they are proud to be a part of because it sustains the forest for the future.
The logger's not always represented in the, I don't know how you would say, maybe in the best light, but we're trying to change that. You know, we want the public to look at us as we're not just out here destroying, but it's a part of a plan, you know.
There's a lot of timber to cut, but if you don't do it right, the next generation may not have good quality timber to cut if we don't manage our forests right.
I hope that forestry continues on. One day if I have children, I hope that I can teach them to love nature as much as I do. A lot of our logging crews that are out here are family business, It's a way to show passion for something that you truly love, and being able to pass that on to the next generation is what I think we all want to do in our own different careers.
In a very short time, we're told that this portion of the forest will be blossoming and beautiful again. You can go to our website, wildsidetv.com, for more information about all the state forests across Tennessee.
Tennessee's Wildside, broadcast for nearly 2 decades, was originally created through a vision of the Jackson Foundation. The foundation remains a supportive partner in the mission to educate viewers about wildlife, natural resources, and opportunities for outdoor adventure. Wildside is produced by Rockwater TV with support from Tennessee State Parks, where you can discover our state's diverse heritage through spectacular landscapes, family-friendly recreation, and affordable lodging. Tennessee State Parks, fun and adventure naturally. And with support from the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, promoting wise uses of Tennessee's agricultural and forest resources to develop economic opportunities and to ensure safe and dependable food, fuel, and fiber for all citizens.